you.
And the shots to there, is it?
Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Kate Warnock coming to you live from the Guidewell Insights Lounge. We're here at day 2 of the 2017 AHIP Institute and Expo. I'm delighted to welcome to the Insights Lounge Mr. Ben Pring. Ben, welcome.
Hi Kate, nice to be with you.
We're happy to have you. So Ben, you have had a long day. You spoke early this morning, but let me tell everyone who you are first. You're the Vice President and Director of the Center for the Future of Work for Cognizant.
That's right.
All right, well, let's talk about the future of work.
Yeah.
So tell me, where might the health industry first see digital forces transform operating models, and which jobs will be obsolete and which will be burgeoning? So
sure.
Big question.
Yeah, big question. I think you're seeing it emerge, digitization emerge in lots of areas already, and you can really look across the spectrum of the healthcare industry, from clinical diagnostics through to the customer experience, and then through into the back office operations of a payer or a provider. And so you can see examples of where next generation technology and increasingly artificial intelligence and machine learning is playing out. Some examples which are increasingly well known are in MRI diagnosis and reading, where machines are outperforming even the best humans. We're working with a number of organizations that are beginning to deploy virtual reality into training of surgeons. I was down in Brazil a couple of weeks ago talking to the folks at Einstein Hospital down there, and they're already using VR to train surgeons, which is extraordinary.
Do you know Shafi Ahmed?
Yeah.
Shafi Ahmed over in the London School of Medicine is a pioneer in that,
That's
isn't
right,
he?
no,
Yes.
Yeah. So there's lots of examples of that. There's a lovely phrase in the sort of the futurology industry that somebody said a few years ago, which is that the future is here, it's just unevenly distributed.
Right.
So you can see that unevenly distributed in lots of places. Where we think that there's a huge opportunity, though, is perhaps in some of the less glamorous and some of the less sexy areas, but in the back office of big organizations, which, not exclusively to the healthcare industry, in lots of industries, financial services, insurance, is really quite dysfunctional when you get under the hood. A lot of technology which is aging out, skills that are aging out, and really rife for reinvention and rife for disruption, and all with the goal of making things better, ultimately.
Right.
So to your question about skills and jobs going away, certainly we think that there is going to be a class of skill and job that does get replaced by software increasingly, and you can broadly characterize that as the rotes, as the routine, as the sort of low value added work where people are basically impersonating robots.
Right.
So let's in fact use robots and free up people to do higher order work, more valuable work, more productive work, more enjoyable work. And again, I think that's the strategy that we're working with a lot of clients to deploy. It isn't about large scale replacement of people, it's about deploying them in more efficient, more productive ways.
Well, it sounds like that's a win-win, isn't it?
For
the organization and for the individual.
Yeah, we say fear not the bot. The bot is here to help you.
Yes.
A lot of people still do have that fear, and some of it's understandable, but we think over time, as the shock of the new becomes less shocking, we'll get used to this, and we'll realize that these tools are really just the next generation of productivity tools, and they're here to help.
Terrific. All right, let's ask our next question for you. So, all right, Ben, as the global WannaCry ransomware cyber attack proves, many organizations, especially those in the health industry, are using older and outdated operating systems. How then do we feasibly move into the world of integrating AI, this next gen technology, into these same companies?
Well, the WannaCry attack, which is just the latest of a very large long-standing series of attacks. I mean, it literally does make you want to cry, hence the name.
Yes.
And everything that we talk about in the Center for the Future of Work, all of the work that we're doing with our clients, all of the things that people here at this conference are interested in, all are built on the need for the next generation of security protocols. The reality is that the battle between the white hats and the black hats is going to be with us for time immemorial. And it's up to us as leaders, it's up to the people listening, those as responsible leaders in their organization, to realize that they've got to take this much more seriously than they have done historically. When you look at stats about the amount that is spent on cybersecurity in large organizations, it's almost shockingly small. Shockingly small. Big, large organizations whose very business, their very existence is predicated on being able to exist in this new digital environment, which isn't going to be uninvented. We're not going to put this back in the genie back in the bottle. We have to deal with this. So it really does require organizations to know that they've got to step up to this. They've got to invest more in this. They've got to invest in replacing aging technology, which oftentimes, as with the WannaCry example, is a wide open back door for people to get into organizations. They've got to replace this with new next generation technology, which is by and large much more secure. So it's really important, and I think a lot of people have had half an eye on this and have basically been in denial and hoping this isn't going to happen on our watch, and hoping we can think about more enjoyable things. And the reality is they can't. They have to address this head on, and the companies that do are going to be the ones that progress and move forward, as we were just saying earlier on, and the companies that continue to sort of put their head in the sand a little bit,
it will catch up.
It's going to catch up.
Yeah. All right, our next question for you then, Ben. With scholarly articles titled such as "The Dark Secret at the Heart of AI" and "AI versus MD," it's obvious that artificial intelligence suffers from bad PR. How would you rewrite the press?
Well, I think Hollywood's to blame for this, really.
Okay.
I mean, the dystopian view that Hollywood feeds us, based on the literature that a lot of people have written and sort of predates the movies. I mean, it's understandable. As I said earlier on, we have a human predilection to be scared of the future. The future is always a bit shocking, and it's more fun as a dramatist to tell a bad story. The protagonists are always the baddies in movies, and so it's very easy to paint the Terminator or the lady in Ex Machina as a baddie. The reality is that that sci-fi vision. I mean, it's simply that. It's a sci-fi vision. And what we try to do in the way we talk to our clients and the way we write about it in the book, What to Do When Machines Do Everything, is point out to people that there's no real logic to worrying about things that are 20, 30, 50 years away, these sci-fi visions. The thing that people need to worry about is 20 months away.
Right.
Is about using these tools, this technology, to improve your business or improve the business unit you run or the care that you provide. Because if you don't worry about that in the next 20 months, you're not going to be around in 20 years to have that debate and see whether those dystopian visions were true. And of course, again, if you put this into a historical context, I mean, we all know that today, 2017, I mean, watching Mr. Comey earlier on today, I mean, we live in neither a dystopia or a utopia. The real world is a mixture of both.
Sure.
And we know historically the past was neither utopia or dystopia. People fell in love in the midst of war. Dr. Zhivago.
That's right.
So why do we imagine that the future is going to be either or?
Okay.
It's not going to be either or. It's going to be a mix of good and bad. And so our book is really AI for pragmatists. It's for people who realize this is a tool, and it is a tool that you can master, and if you master it, you're going to do very well. If you struggle with it, if you ignore it, you're kind of missing the train.
All right. So if what most of you are doing in your role, Ben, is you're talking at that executive level and you're guiding them and thinking of the future of the workforce. How about, let's take it down a little bit lower than that. How about today's workforce? Especially the folks who might be retiring in 15 years, let's say, not necessarily looking for a brand new career or having to go back to school to learn a new skill set. What's your advice for these folks?
Well, the first thing, I mean, and it's a very good point. We call this in the book, we call this the brass wall. When the police department was modernized in New York in the 80s, the senior politicians, the senior police chiefs wanted to recognize, the force was in bad shape and wanted to change it. The next generation, the young guys coming in, the new cadre wanted to change things. It was the middle rank, the people who had brass on their shoulders, who wanted to maintain status quo.
Yes.
And the reality is, to your question, if you've got 15 years to go to the finish line, your 401k,
right.
If you imagine that you can sit there like King Canute for 15 years and hold these forces back,
right.
I mean, time out, that's a bad spot to be. Maybe if you've got 2 or 3 years you could do that.
Right.
15 is too long. This is
right.
changing too quickly. And the reality is that I think the way I look at it, I mean, I'm 55 years old, so the way I look at all of this is through my kids' eyes.
Yeah.
I call them my future of work focus group at home. And I think a lot of people who are in that generational kind of demographic, they've also got kids at home. They should be looking at how their kids live. They should be looking at how their kids are socializing, working, experiencing the world, and recognize that that is the future of work.
Right.
We look at a lot of kind of consumer technology and we think it's kind of stupid and crazy, but that is the future of work. And so I think for a 50-year-old, a 45-year-old, a 55-year-old, trying to inject that sensibility into your business process, into your customer experience, into your employee experience, that's the work that anybody can do today.
Right.
I mean, you may not personally like that.
Right.
That may not personally be appealing to you, but that is the future. One of the analogies I often draw in that sort of discussion is to think about how the record industry or the movie industry does it. The senior people in those industries, they're not making movies or records for themselves. They're making it for the next generation. So they're not producing those movies, those records. They're simply green lighting them, financing them,
right.
steering them.
Right.
And again, I think that's a good analogy for senior leaders in lots of industries, including this, that if you're constantly thinking we're trying to make the solution for me, make the record for me, you're missing where the market is and where the market's going. So I think trying to sort of rub your tummy, pat your head at the same time is very difficult. But again, I think that's the opportunity that senior people have to recognize the world does change, to recognize a lot of new stuff. Virtual reality, augmented reality kind of seems stupid as it emerges as a technology, but then cloud computing 20 years ago was stupid.
Right.
When I started writing about cloud computing in Gartner 20 years ago, people thought I was an idiot.
Yeah.
But now cloud computing is the underlying technology that's changed everything, and that we're all talking about at this event here today. So I think trying to recognize that the world does change and that you can't sort of time out, you can't hold progress back, that's the way you can remain relevant. A lot of people talk about, the digital natives, the millennials.
Yes.
For people like me, I like to talk about us as being the perennials.
You heard it here.
You heard it here first. Yeah.
That's right. I love it. Well, I think too what you're speaking to is that there's always an opportunity to learn. And as you were progressing, and maybe in the beginning part of your career, certainly you were open and receptive to new ideas, new technologies, that you never really have to lose that sort of curiosity and to your point, relevance. And take that wisdom that you've accumulated, really maybe kind of start to pay attention to the new way work is being done, and really make a name for yourself.
Well, one final lovely quote I always like to throw at it, Pablo Picasso said in 1968 that computers are useless, they only give us answers. And so the human ability to ask the questions, that's how you remain relevant.
That's right. Well, I'm sure you gave your audience at 7:30 this morning so much to think about, because I know you certainly have here in the Guidewell Insights Lounge. So Ben, thank you so much for your time and this wonderful conversation. It was wonderful talking with you.
Thank you very much.
All right, my pleasure. This is Kate Warnock coming to you from the Guidewell Insights Lounge. We are signing off from day 2. Please join us again at our next event. It was a delight being with you all. Thank you.